Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we have some special guests on from Naus. We have David before we've had him. And how are you doing, David?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having us again.
And we also have Shauna, who's a new member of Sadnos.
Yes, sir.
Nice, nice. And we got my co-host Alex here. We've all got our cats apparently.
Exactly. We gotta
I've
bring
got
in
a
special
dog, but
guests,
you
right?
can't. He's down there.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got a dog? I have a
Can't see
dog
him.
too, actually, but he's
Nice.
sleeping. But today we're going to be talking about 3 tournaments. We got the Propaganda event. This is sponsored by Amped Gaming and Turn Zero, which was out in LA. We got the Tyton series that we covered last time. And we have the Chaos Trader series, which is the online tournament that's been ongoing. We're going to be covering the Propaganda first. I have the pull out for this, the flyer showing here. It's sponsored by Amped. Some pretty cool pricing. They had the Earthcraft foil OG Chrome Mox, a Yogswill, and a Bayou, which was some pretty solid pricing for this cEDH tournament. I thought it was pretty cool.
I'm hoping they do more in the future.
Yeah, this was an awesome event down in LA. If you guys are in the area, just feel free to check out Turn Zero. They're a really cool shop. Me and Alex went to this tournament, and so we'll have some stuff to say on that. But let's go over some cool decks that we found in there. Let's see. Let's look at the top 8. The first deck I'm going to go over is Hans. Run It's cEDH. This was piloted by our friend Tyler, and this is a Gruul deck, which you don't usually see very often right now. And the commander is Hans Eriksson, which is honestly pretty sick. He basically cheats creatures into play from the top of your deck, kind of Winota-ish. But it goes
We've joked it's the Gruul Kalia plenty of times.
Yeah, or Kalia as well, kind of cheating that big creature into play. And the combo with it is the if you've ever played like Legacy Goblins or Modern Goblins, it's Muxus
Goblin
with
Recruiter.
Yeah, the Goblin Recruiter and the what's the Snoop combo, Conspicuous
Yeah,
Snoop.
you play your Goblin Recruiter, so you stack up everything. You have Muxus on top, so you're able to
Right.
just go to combat with Hans. Hans will flip into Muxus, and then you get all the goblins from downward.
Yeah,
And
Muxus.
you also have Lightning Crafter.
Yeah,
That's
Muxus
an
was a
important one.
really big push for these Goblin combos that came out in 2022 Jumpstart. It's an insanely good card. It's also spawned different legacy decks that include this. Yeah, it was this deck honestly like heavily overperformed, which is really cool. It's not running too much stacks. I don't actually believe it even runs a collector roof, which is
I don't
pretty
even think
interesting.
this deck is a really much of a stack deck. It's
There's
like
no oof.
No, it's just
it's
Megahorn.
Turbo
no-
Gruul.
Yeah,
It's I mean I've played
The
against
deck is
this deck.
lean and aggressive. 24
Yeah,
land.
this deck is a fast deck. It's
It's-
interesting because like I think it preys on number one, it preys on people's lack of knowledge of the list. Because there's so few Gruul decks in the meta right now that people really don't know what the colors do too well.
Yeah.
In addition to, it just attacks it from a kind of a creature standpoint, and I think it's really hitting the meta in a really interesting spot because people aren't using removal a lot of it, or their removal is all stack interaction, and it's not even stack interaction for creatures. And this gets around it with an ability. I think the only way that you really get to stop Hans is you have to kill him before combat. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're losing the game.
I think with the Goblin Recruiter pile, just one piece of maybe I'm wrong on this, but I believe that one piece of like removal, like a Chain of Vapor or Deadly Rollick, is not actually enough to stop the combo. You need multiple hits.
Yeah. Once the combo has happened,
It's
you
kinda
need
nasty.
multiple hits.
Mhm.
But if you can do it before Hans triggers, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You're safe.
Similar to Winota. You get it.
Exactly.
Get it off, but it does have some grind, and it has a lot of removal. It's got like Fury and I think Lightning Bolts, all these good just Gruul removal spells. Got some cool interaction. I think the one cool thing in this list is it can also cheat out really big creatures like Bane of Progress if the game's kind of going bad. And I've seen this actually just completely send people back to the Stone Age. So it's
this is the collector oof for the deck.
Yeah, this is definitely the collector roof of the deck. just removes all the enchantments, all those Rhystic studies, the soul rings. Just get out of here.
I mean, when my opponent says Hans and then traverses the Uvenwald and then casts fucking Signal the Clans, I'm not really expecting much to happen. But I'm sure
Right.
that once that recruiter hits on curve before Hans even hits, you kind of know what's happening. I mean, no, it has to hit after Hans, but before he attacks. So maybe we Hans into recruiter and then we swing next turn and win. But there's a lot of it's telegraphed, and we're not usually surprised. There's key lines here,
Right.
but nothing that we would be surprised by. I think that I guess people just don't understand that on attack it comes in and kills you. Or I think we must understand the line, but we're not prepared to deal with creatures as
Yeah.
most CDH decks aren't. So
Or maybe
that's how
it's
it's
just
winning.
that people know about it for Winota, so maybe we need to like decompartmentalize that knowledge. It's not just like we kill Winota on site because it's Winota. It's like
Yeah.
we do it to prevent the trigger.
I think the biggest
Mhm.
thing with this one is unlike like with Winota, it's like, okay, you get triggers, whatever, throw some fatty humans into play, and then you got to pass because it's like a stack. This one is like, I get a trigger, I win. It's not. People will be like, oh, it's fine, give the Hans Eriksson deck a trigger, and then you throw in the Muxus, and they're just like, oh, okay, and then they try to respond. I mean, I had this happen. I was watching the game when I was playing right next to him, and he was playing against 3 turbo players. They all kept hands that were like turn 3 wins, and he just won on turn 2, and no one could stop him. It was hilarious watching a Gruul deck.
Insane.
Yeah, beat Onala, Rogsai, and like I forgot what the other deck was. I think it was
I
Kess or
think
something.
Corvold.
Or was it Corvold? Yeah, it was.
I
It
think
was.
so.
It was a fast. They
Yeah.
were all. That was like I looked at that pawn and I was like, I'm sorry, Hans, and he was just like, I don't care. I'm gonna win.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was cool. This deck's awesome. I really like that Tyler is.
Let's go over the rest
throwing
of
it
the
up.
top 4.
Yeah. Let's throw up the next deck. This is going to be Kess. I actually played against this deck, and this is a very just normal Kess list. It's got Narset. It has See the Truth in it, so it's got some more like interesting cantrips, I guess, to like get some more value off Kess. Putting spells into the grave. But besides that, it's just a good Grixis deck, I think. Is
It's
what we have.
just nice to see that Kess exists again.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
She
we haven't
seemed
seen
to,
Kess in a long time.
Disappear, just due to the fact that there's some better Grixis commanders, and
Right.
people would rather be playing white with Grixis. So
Yeah, I will say the game I played my first game against this Kess, and what happened? The Kess, we had this giant stack, and then he just brain freezed his deck because there was just a giant stack, and put all these cards into the grave, and then I had a Dranith out, so I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I'm playing Shorikai, and someone fought me over the Dranith. I had to stop them. Then it went to the Kess's turn with, I think, 2 cards in hand. And they just played Kess, and I was like, okay, that's fine. There's a Dranith out. And then cast a Snap on the Dranith. I had nothing, but one of the other players tried to silence them, and then in response, they just mental misstepped it. And from there, they had a grave. It had an Naus in there, and they had a ton of mana from a dockside. So
Yeah.
I mean, being able to just like free cast your spells from the grave is honestly like the grind value on Kess. People heavily underestimate. I mean, it's technically a 1-card combo with the what is it? The Forbidden Tutors. If you have Tainted Pact,
Yeah.
Demonic Consultation, that was the main reason to play
It gets pretty impressive late game.
Yeah.
When you're able to just like flash back your Yawgmoth's Will or something like that. Or if you have Displacer Kitten, that like Displacer Kitten plus Kess.
That's pretty cool.
I know it's not on this list, but
It's not.
that's build your own Yawgmoth's Will.
That is kind of cool. I actually did not even think about that. Displacer is pretty sick. There's copy artifact in here. That's kind of surprising as well.
I was just
Yeah.
looking at that. I was looking at the copy. I was looking at the Dark Confidant, which a lot of
These are
Grixis
some
are off of.
attacks.
Dark
I
Confidant.
mean, we're looking at like
Yeah.
Winds of Rebuke, and obviously, like these last 5 cards don't really matter to Kess because they're just constantly recurring the pieces that matter. So,
Yeah.
I guess the couple one-offs, the open slots are questionable, but as long as your shell is solid, you're still getting wins.
Yeah, I will say the Dark Confidant, I think actually won them the game when we played because I was just staxing the hell out of everyone with Shorkai, and no one like could do anything. But there was a Dark Confidant just like getting that extra draw, and I think it got
Yes,
him
sir.
the mental misstep that countered the silence. So I was like, all right, cool. I mean, if it works
Nice.
when nothing's happening. But yeah, we'll look at the next list, which is by Zach, and this is Magda.
Magda.
Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
there's a very interesting top pod with a Magda.
Yeah,
and
he
a
went
Hans.
undefeated in Swiss, right?
Did he? I think he did.
I thought
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
points. It looks like 3 wins, maybe 1 draw.
Yeah, probably 3 wins, 1 draw.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 wins. 3 wins, 1 loss.
1 loss.
15
Oh,
points.
okay.
Okay.
I think there's
Yeah.
2. Lauren and Zach both.
Yep.
Had the
Nobody went undefeated, but
3-1. That's
for
still
Magda,
pretty good.
that's a pretty good showing for a deck that's
Yeah.
been kind of shit on by everybody.
When people are
Yeah.
not prepared for Magda, it definitely sweeps pods, right? Like
Yeah,
these
100%.
games where people aren't, maybe aren't respecting the deck enough, or aren't appreciating it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta sit down, like play your Wish Claw, and then Wish Claw for opposition agent, because you know that you need something to stop the Magda from tutoring. It's
Right.
that simple.
Yeah.
I actually lost a game against someone else who's playing Magda because I did not play my Rogue Rack on turn 1 by mistake, and I didn't have the opportunity to Deadly Rollick the Magda. So,
Ouch.
That's
Yeah.
bad.
lost the game.
We'll never
off the
make
bat
that
for
mistake
one, I
again.
think.
I've
Pretty much.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm glad Magda has made it to top 4. I've just, as many times as I've played this deck, I've just never seen it perform. I don't know if that's just me playing with, a deck that runs heavy removal and
Yeah.
I just kill it before it happens, or
Yeah, removal's
know.
pretty good against Magda.
It's
It-
just,
Much
it kinda-
better than stack interaction.
It definitely grinds
Yeah.
on. It plays these weird stacks pieces that actually. It kind of has those what I call the Rog Tvesh stacks pieces. They're just like really weird stacks pieces that most decks can't play around, like Dampening Sphere. Blood Moon, honestly, I love Blood Moon. So that's.
I mean, it runs Grafdigger's
Sphere of
Cage and Sphere of
Resistance.
Resistance, so that it's kind of
Grafdiggers.
anti-storm and,
yeah.
anti, put stuff out of your deck or
Torpor
grave or
Orb,
whatever.
yeah, like these just like really
ETBs,
weird Void
Winter
Mirror,
Orb.
Winter Orb. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of
Range
very
art.
weird stuff.
I
It might
feel
be-
like it's pretty standard. I think the interesting stacks pieces in my mind are Tanglewire and Knowledge Pool,
Knowledge
as
Pool's
well as
hot.
Portal to Phyrexia. Like, those are
Where is that Knowledge Pool?
interesting includes in
Yes.
the list. Like,
Hmm.
making someone sacrifice 3 creatures, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to put a creature card from your graveyard into the battlefield under your control. Like,
I think this is just them
It's
kind of
just-
leading into the toolbox nature and acknowledging that giving
Right.
up
Yeah.
the 1 slot equity pays off.
Right.
yeah, exactly. It's very toolboxy and like Memory Jar. I think those are the more interesting pieces, the kind of things when it's top end, because we see a lot of the lower end cards because they can fit into things. I mean, I think Clown Car is just absolutely annoying, but it's
That
running
card's
this list and
really good in Magda. I think.
it's
Yeah.
annoyingly good in the deck.
That's one of the big upgrades the deck got. Mycosynth Garden is actually in here. I haven't
Yeah.
seen anyone
it?
play this card in CDH so far, but it is a
See-
very cool one.
You might as
This
well
is-
for this deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Don't
mean,
worry.
this is one of those cards that I've been thinking about, like, because I've seen like the double Lion's Eye and
Yeah. in
other
Legacy, I've seen
formats
that, yeah.
as a combo, and I was wondering when Mycosynth is gonna find its home.
Mhm.
And I still think that this is a powerful land that could potentially it's just a combo waiting to happen. Magic is going to print a card eventually that
Right.
breaks Mycosynth Gardens, and then we're going to have a combo. But I think this is probably the home for it for now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd agree.
I think so. Yeah, and the rest of the list looks pretty normal.
Pretty familiar
I
if
don't
you've
see
seen
any-
Magda
yeah,
before.
Magda. I mean, yeah,
Lots of
we're saying
dwarfs.
pretty familiar, and people are looking at this like, what the hell is going on here? But yeah, if you look at a
Dwarven
Magda list,
Trader.
yeah, this
Dwarven
is
Grunt.
pretty.
We see
Pretty
7 cards that are
obvious.
just labeled Dwarven X. Like,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
typical
just
Magda
dwarf.
list. Yep.
Dwarf X, which makes sense. Metallic Mimic. They got some cool. I love
Yep.
the artwork they chose for this, which is really
I really love all the dwarfs just because they're all like old bordered cards. Like there's just no new bordered
There really
dwarfs other
isn't,
than
yeah.
like Magda.
cool. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah,
It's like this was an archetype we had through Magic, and it was just like, yeah, you know what? Goodbye. Have a nice day. Not supporting you anymore.
They
We want to
are-
make money.
They are notably playing Fork, which is
Yeah.
sick. Fork is really cool. They're not playing Reverberate, so they're just opting to go for the OG Fork.
Yep. No,
Which
it's
makes it red.
spicy.
So I think maybe making it the spell red is better than just copying it. Because if, say, it's like a blue spell and you copy it, I can get Pyroed or Rebbed. Some people are playing Blue Elemental Blast, but I think Pyro and Reb are still the more played of those effects.
Funny for how we're opting for like Pyrokinesis and DBF when we don't even have Tibalt Trickery in here. Like, it's definitely a choice that has probably been built for more creature heavy meta, because otherwise, why would we not just run the only counter spells we can? But we're on.
Well, the thing is, those, like, I think for that, and having played Minx and other things, I think you want to just murder the anti search effects. Anything that kills Oppo and Avon, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you can counter something and if you can't search in this deck. So I think that's probably what they're opting for. And you kind of just pick your time when, like, there's a big counter war going on, and then at the end of it, you just play Delayed Blast Fireball and then win on top of everyone. That's the cool thing about this deck. You can just win on top of anything as long as you have 5 treasures, which is cool. Let's look at the last one, which is Lauren's deck.
The only meta deck that we're talking about.
Another blue farm.
Congratulations to Lauren,
Yeah.
friend of the channel and of us, for winning his first cEDH tournament here.
This is his first one that he won,
super
which is
hyped.
awesome. Yeah, that was super. He was very hyped. I could tell there. He was.
Not to
very
mention
hyped
that
to
going
win.
3-1 to Swiss and then coming out on top feels really fucking good. Like second seat.
It definitely does. He's been playing in our local meta for a really long time, and he's done well. Like, he's done pretty well, but he's never won an event, and it is cool to win an event. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just looking at his list and everything and reviewing it. I mean, I feel like it's
just a solid list.
It's just a solid blue farm list. You know, he has a couple different things in his flex slots. Like, you know, he has his blue elemental blast. Which
Got
is good
Lavinia in here. That's pretty
yeah,
sick.
he's got. I think
Lavinia
Lavinia
is
is
super
solid.
cool.
It hurts the mirror. Swords is great to include.
I feel like,
but other than that, I mean, these are all
Lavinia's-
real standard pieces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think most of this is what we've come to expect from, like, the sort of Breach Bears archetype.
Yeah, Breach Bears is what they call it. I think Lavinia is actually just becoming a staple in the deck, because I feel like every list I look at it is just Lavinia. Now we're moving away from the Storm version, because I think, I mean, let's see, was Lauren playing City of Traders? No, there's no City of Traders either, which, I think that's what it's more moving toward, is just...
I think the City of Traders just, to me, has always felt out of place in the list.
A little bit.
Just because the deck, based on what its commanders want to do, it wants to grind. It wants to get that card advantage. It wants to sit there behind, 20 cards in hand. Exactly. It just wants to sit there and hold the cards in hand. And I feel like that loss of tempo, when you get that burst of 2 mana, is it really worth it? Because, okay, maybe I don't even add Naus this turn. It's just, okay, I got to play an extra Signet. Cool. I feel that it's starting to really revolve around a very grindy mid-range plan.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
with the options of potentially early turn tutors and wins, right? So.
Yeah, and that grindy mid-range plan is getting so much hype because, I mean, Cobalt is out here with his like uncounterable human soup, where he's running Cavernous Souls.
Right.
And you can obviously flip-flop to name rogues when you have that Oppo in hand and stuff like that. But we aren't running Cavernous Souls in Lauren's list, which is interesting because we have 6 humans, 2 rogues. Like, it seems like a worthy include over, like, Spire of Industry, but...
You can even name Pirate, to be honest.
You can even name Pirate.
Dockside.
Yeah. I mean, I think... I mean... Cavern of Souls it's a good card, it's a bad card, it's include it, don't include it. I think
it's just another tool that you have in your box that you can bring out when the metagame is, I don't know, when you feel it has a good spot in the metagame, right?
I mean, I just feel that already, like, Cavern of Souls, like, okay, cool, it makes your creatures uncounterable, but how many decks are actually running super heavy amounts of creature counters? I mean, there's Force of Will, there's Pact of Negation, and who's playing Mana Drain? There's Thrasios Timna, there's maybe a Dawnwaker, and there's maybe a Niv Mizzet at your table, and that's it. Like, you're
mean,
never going to really be encountering a heavy
Mind Break
I- I
Trap,
true
agree.
counter spell.
Pact. There's some. I
Well,
think you
what
Mind
I'm
admit
Break-
trying to say is it's less
Yeah.
about the density of counters on your creatures versus how badly you need those creatures to resolve.
exactly.
right?
Yeah, like I'm
When you
playing
get that
kind of
Abolisher.
like
When you play Abolisher, everyone is going to pull the kitchen sink to counter that.
Yeah.
So playing Cavern, just make sure the kitchen sink isn't enough. You know, it just gets through. It's like, do you have Mind Break Trap and are able to hardcast it? No. Okay. Well, my Abolisher is resolving. So
Yeah.
It's
Not to
all-
mention that you have to consider what you're going against. So
Right.
this is a 34-person tournament. This is Amped Gaming's first tournament.
Right.
Normally, when you're hosting your first tournament, regardless of the prize pool, which was impressive, I mean, everybody wants to win a bio.
Right.
This 34-person tournament is not going to draw like your top meta game. We're looking at this final pod, and we're seeing 3 off meta decks and 1 meta deck, and that you're not going to get your shit countered by Hans Eriksson. Like, you're basically going into this pod,
Exactly.
this
Oh.
tournament in general, being willing to be ready for off meta shit. So
Definitely.
No.
definitely.
yeah,
Hans Eriksson, he's coming in with that guttural response.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
gonna,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
gonna
Oh,
counter
yeah.
you with a green mana. But
it's not even running
course.
T-Bolt trickery. Your shit's safe.
That's true.
yeah, I think we should slide over
We'll
on
slide
over
over,
and
for sure.
congratulate Shauna here on her victory
Oh,
of
yeah.
the Titan Games April event. So I think this event was unfortunately timed on Easter. So I think that just kind of hurt the turnout for the tournament, but I still think we had a lot of solid players show up.
I think had of the 3 tournaments they've hosted so far, this was the best turnout in terms of skill, in terms of deck expertise I've seen so far. There were a couple off metas here or there, but it was pretty solid.
It looks
That's
pretty
Yeah,
because
solid.
it was
looking in the
Easter.
top
Only
16.
people who
Yeah.
are
Because
really
it was
like it
Easter.
came.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I also think that
Clearly.
there was a lot more. I think when you were at that event, there was a lot of people there. I think there is very few people. In fact, I'm pretty sure there was only one person who was playing that as their first tournament ever. I think everyone was already a seasoned veteran of tournaments, and
Cool.
multiple people already having top 16s under their belt. So this was a very competitive, although small pool of players, very competitive pod.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to hear. How many people signed up for this?
I
Like
think it was just a
25,
little over.
26.
25.
It
Okay.
signed up was a little over 30, and then there were some people who
Oh.
didn't show.
Yep,
Oh,
because they were
So-
like, "Oh shit,
okay.
it's Easter."
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
people
Yeah.
noticed it was a holiday, which was frustrating. But I mean, they have another event coming up, and I know that's in May, and I think they're putting up bigger prizes. There's a City of Traders, and so there's some other cards as well. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's probably close to about $1,000, maybe a little more for the prizes,
Yep.
as well as top 16 and other places getting stuff. So it's definitely worth showing up. But looking at the top 16 here, I think I'm going to start with 16th place, and this
16, sure.
this is kind of a little
Casual
bit of a
crick?
fun deck that I love. Yeah, it's casual crick. Like, I mean, it's one of those
Remind
decks
me,
that,
guys.
This is a sick
yeah,
crick
just
list.
Just playing
vroom,
crick
vroom,
cards.
vroom. It just turbo as fast as I can go.
I don't know how vroom. I don't see any manifold
Oh, this-
keys. I don't.
Yeah,
see,
he doesn't run the manifold key, but hey, he's running sacrifice. He's got some other
okay, we're
rituals. It's
getting there.
crick. It's crick doing crick things.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm seeing like the Violent Tumor, Necrotic Ooze, Flesh Writher stuff, which I'm definitely a
This
fan
is
of
okay.
for fighting the blue decks.
I haven't seen this card in a really long time. Victimize.
mhm.
That is really cool. Choose 2 target creatures in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen creatures to the battlefield. That's not a card I see pretty often, which is pretty cool. But yeah, besides that, everything is looking Damnation. Wow, okay. There's some grind here. This isn't the full vroom, but you know, Crick is always
It's-
vroom.
He
I
knows what he's
mean,
playing against.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Damnation is still 2 mana in crick.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
So
Force
everything
of Despair.
is go.
Wow, running the Force. That's sick.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
is.
You've seen that one before, right, Jesse?
I've
Oh,
You
tried
played
to
against
play
that
it.
before.
This is a nightmare card.
Colin
for
was
me,
playing that, yeah.
Oh,
because
interesting.
I'll
that's
attack
right.
with
Of course, Colin was
Najila.
playing that.
I'll attack with Najila, and then this will get played, and I'll be like, I'll make 20 warriors, and he's just like, no.
That's pretty
You know?
funny. That's really,
And I'm just
really
like,
funny.
I can't win this game now. No.
Yeah, Crick's got an interesting. He's playing the Leshrac Sigil Aether Vial combo still, which is cool. Oubliette, the Pauper staple, showing up in this list as well. This is a spicy crick list. This is cool.
I'm
30
liking it.
lands. Wow. Okay. I
Yeah,
don't know if
and
that's normal.
he is also on flavor for putting in
Okay.
all of the Phyrexian cards that he can possibly put in here with the Phyrexian text on them, which
That's sick.
is
That's really
just
cool. Shieldred's cool. I
good
like
flavor.
Shieldred in here.
Yeah.
A notable Mycosynth Gardens coming up once again in this list. That is very, very cool. I think this card is going to see a lot more play, honestly. Definitely for the more turbo list.
I think it's also probably, looking at kind of the decks that we've looked at, I think it probably is going to be more of like the monocolor and two-color lists,
Right.
that are super artifact heavy. But I still just don't know how the card plays. Like, I don't have enough experience with it to understand, like,
right.
when to do it.
But yeah, that was a cool crick list. Let's see here. What else do we have?
I think if we go up in placement order, I think
Yeah.
the Riel list
Riel. Where is that one?
is the next one.
No, Riel is 10th, right?
10th,
Yeah, Riel is
Fast
10th.
and Fierce.
Yeah, but then the next interesting one. Yeah.
This
Yeah,
Riel list.
sorry,
Okay.
I'm skipping over Rogsai and Tibet and Gromtavej, which
Yes,
are all very
yeah.
standard
Yeah.
meta decks at the moment.
We're
I just
looking
wanted
at
to
the
point out,
spicy stuff.
I'm kind of interested that like there are multiple people playing Gromtavej. It's I guess it's like kind of seeing an uptick right now.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's
popular.
not a deck that's like traditionally been super popular, but it looks like there's 3 people in top 16 with it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Anyways,
yeah. Oh,
let's go to Riel.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, Riel. I haven't seen too many people playing this.
I mean,
Well,
I've
but
never
it
played
is
it,
pretty
so-
interesting.
For good reason, unfortunately. I played against this deck in Swiss once and in top 16, and both times it did nothing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All this deck has ever done to me is hurt me. Just with bad counterspell threat assessment I have felt. But that's also me being very biased because
Might
I'm
be the
gonna
player
feel
as well.
Yeah, it might be me saying that don't counter my stuff ever, please. Don't ever attack me. I'm selfish and I want to win.
That's funny.
But I mean, I think the deck it's interesting. It's obviously done something right because it made top 16. So maybe smaller player count, but it's I know the pilot. This was the first tournament, and so maybe some inexperience. But I think bringing this to a tournament, or at least its first Tyton event, if I remember correctly, I think you're going to learn, you're going to be able to adapt. And I mean, people also would look at Shauna's Niv Mizzet list and be like, yeah, whatever, it's not a competitive deck, but then she puts up results. So I'll give the person the room to experiment and demonstrate and prove us all wrong that this deck can perform, because it has good cards in it. It has combos that we know work. And it has powerful control pieces. It's just, I think our experiences with it is it's always been, beat by other decks at the table. Either it's just missing its windows, it's too slow, or it's accidentally getting hit by stacks pieces that just also happen to hit other good decks at the table.
Yeah, we've definitely said that about a couple decks that have been popular in the past that have fallen off a little. Joyra is another, is it one that we kind of also looked at?
Why is it always Izzet decks?
Yeah, because the problem that's unique to Izzet is that you have the least amount of onboard value. Like, you have no Tymna, you have no technically like cEDH relevant draw engines except for Ristic and Mystic, right? So you're basically just like sitting behind this wall of shitty counter spells, getting the entirety of the table's priority passed to you while you're trying to assemble your value piece. And unfortunately, while cheaper, Riel is a much worse value piece than Niv Mizzet. So I mean, even when you finally get that payoff, you finally cast Riel and maybe you get that wheel. I'm pretty sure his one win, if I'm looking at it correctly, his one win was from wheeling into Breach and then having a shit ton of cards in graveyards and just kind of like getting lucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't find the Breach,
I think it's cool that you can play Burning Inquiry and playing all these like discard your hand, draw these cards, and then Riel, brings them back. So I think that is nice, but maybe the cost of the commander is a little too high.
I feel like
effect. I don't know.
Sometimes, so I've actually played Riel, like just casually, I feel sometimes like when I was piloting the list that I was running a 2-color Burgie
Yeah, I
without
could see
like the
that.
additional mana. Because it was like I could do stuff,
And it plays
and
Burgie,
then
which
it
makes
was just
sense.
like do I draw into what I need or do I not draw into what I need? It was like
Mm-hmm.
I get set up and then we just risk it all for this wheel. And so many times I've run into in both Bergie and this was I wheel everybody into interaction or I wheel them into a win or I set them up for a combo. And I think that's kind of the problem is, I feel like if you want to play like that wheel deck, almost might maybe go back to Opus Thief. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you're playing Opus Thief, now you're starting to overlap with Blue Farm, so maybe just play Blue Farm.
Yeah, I mean a lot of decks you can say that for. I think the one cool thing that's in this deck that is its decks don't usually, well, some of them do, but the Glinthorn Curiosity combo just to like tack on another combo. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think you play that in Niv, right?
I
Sean?
don't play Glenhorn, no.
Okay, yeah. Like
No.
some people just throw that in there to just have, because, you're wheeling so much, you might just wheel into Glinthorn Curiosity, and so you just kind
Yeah.
of slap it on. It's interesting. They're playing OG Counterspell as well. Brain Freeze, just
Which
good,
is
good instant
spicy.
stuff. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
OG Counterspell is pretty spicy.
Yeah.
Let's
It's cool,
look
but you're really
at-
just banking on like the age-old question of are wheels good in cEDH, and when your
Yeah.
entire deck bases on a very controversial fact, which is wheels are good in cEDH, you're literally just wheeling
Your
your
wheel
opponents.
must be good.
Your wheels have to
Yeah.
be good, and the wheels are only very good in this deck because you get more value from them than the other opponents. But you getting more value than other opponents is just putting you on par with Rogsai. Like, Riel is making you
Right.
just as good as Rogsai at this point in terms of card by card value, and Rogsai will always be faster. So
Yeah,
they can tutor.
Rogsai. We're speaking of the Opus Thief thing. I
Yep.
think Rogsai actually does it better and more efficiently
Yeah.
than what people used to think it was good for. Timna Crom, but I think actually now with the Narset, Notion Thief, extra wheels, Rogsai, I think that's the way that the deck is going right now, and I've seen people play testing it. It looks pretty cool. Yeah, play Days Undoing. That card's sick. Anyway, well, I think we can get to. Do you want to do one more list before Shauna's, or you want to just go straight to Shauna's?
I think we just hand it over to the champion or something.
All right, Shauna. How was this tournament for you? And
It was pretty good. So I'll just do a quick run through of if I can remember my games. Round 1 was a pretty easy win. I'm sorry. Round 1 was probably one of my most competitive pods.
Okay.
Sitting down with 3 competitive decks, 2 Temnicroms, and 1 Kinnan.
Okay.
The Kinnan actually kind of caused our final interaction that went into it. They were just rolling miss the opponent's Notion Thief with my onboard Niv, but I had a Narset to kind of keep the risky studies and kind of at bay, and then appear into the abyss. Didn't go through, and I eventually just won through drawing a Fitty Ion and winning in instant speed in response to a peer, and it was super sick. But that was a very competitive pod.
Cool.
Yeah, moving on to round 2. This was against the Real player and Joseph Stacko, which has Joseph Stacko is a pretty big name.
Player.
And yeah, pretty big name, pretty decent player. His deck is probably upwards of $200,000, or I'm sorry, yeah, $200,000 because he's got like fucking alpha like lands and shit. Like he comes to every. He actually comes to every tournament with his deck and top loaders and had to be asked to stop because he can't shuffle effectively.
He carried in a briefcase like Seto Kaiba or something.
It's fucking huge.
Cool.
Yeah,
Last
tournament.
thing.
Yeah, David and I topped forward with him, and we were like, dude, you got to unsleeve your top loaders, man. You can't even shuffle with that shit. Like, come on. But it's incredible. His deck is triple sleeved. So it was him to my left. Across from me was Daniel from me was Dan. Him and Alana came up from Detroit to play with us. Super sick. Dan was on Brassy Cats. Always a very consistent deck.
Cool.
And Ryan was in the play. He kept his hand for a turn 2 wheel that I delayed because Dan mulled super low and just spat out a bunch of mana, and I was like, getting him a fresh hand here is probably bad. When the delay eventually came back down, Dan Notion Thiefed, it got bounced. by also Ryan. So literally Ryan's entire game plan was like prevent my opponents from winning and hope for the best, but present no permanence to the table. And eventually I just I'm sorry, we drew. Because Ryan and I were just playing table police and my Niv got removed immediately, so on and so forth.
The blue pod special. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Pod 3, I was pared down, surprisingly. I think I was second in standings, but I got pared down to the Crick deck, the some weird ass Cabal deck. Cabal deck.
A
and
Cabal? Wait,
yeah,
what?
a Cabal.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
in
so
years.
Ezra was on Cabal. The previous tournament he was on, I think, like the Necron Precon. So this was an upgrade, but not much.
Right.
He literally played out every white stacks piece that exists in cEDH and just like passed a turn.
Wait, Kamal, what? A Chroma Kamal?
No, Cabal.
Cabal.
Oh, Cabal.
Cabal. Yeah. Orzhov.
Okay.
Orzhov.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Orzhov
yeah.
hopes that people kill themselves, literally, with the triggers.
Basically. So he was just there to make things difficult, and I ended up losing to Jessica Ishai. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly just because, we had a very telegraphed, we had a turn basically to see Baron Dockside combo on field. And I was too worried about Baron bouncing Niv. Niv was on board, than to focus on the fact that there was a fucking Grand Abolisher on board that I literally had the Chain of Vapor for. So I was just like, I think I was mostly just fuming over the fact that I was pared down into like this very unintuitive pod. Obviously, like Crick, Jessica Ishai, and Kambal isn't where I want to be at this point in the tournament. And I was chalking it up to be a very easy win to the point where I got really cocky and just like let the turn pass into a Grand Abolisher. And I was like, wait, turn passed? What? We're losing? Huh? Shit, fuck. And then, it's just, it happens. So lost that one. I was super mad that I was ruining my placement because of stupid ass mistakes. And I pass into round 4 where I'm against, it's myself, Alana on Roxai. Alana's fucking terrifying. And it was a Tivit player and some guy playing like the background commander, like the Gruul background commander with like Street Fighter and like Duran or whatever. Like it's a garbage deck.
Yeah, we covered it last time.
The really shitty like food chain deck. Yeah. So we weren't expecting much. It was yet another. I play with Alana a lot recently. She's a very good player. Basically, whenever we sit down together, just a 1v1. She won the last one. Obviously, I won this one because I cast a turn 2 risky study, so the game was over.
Okay. Good card.
And then my opponent cast, or the Duran player cast a Dockside and didn't sack his treasures when I imaged it, and then I won.
Okay.
So,
I feel like I've had so many games where people did that.
God. If I had a nickel every time someone played Dockside, didn't crack all their treasures, there's a second Dockside, and then a third person tutors for another Dockside. Because,
like,
hey, it's going to happen again.
It's like the Rhystic, there's the Rhystic study self-suck, like Rhystic Mystic self-suck, and then there's the Dockside self-suck, and they just...
We're literally learning that you are best incentivized to only cast Dockside when you can effectively use all of your treasures. Because they should not, they're not considered permanents. Because every time you keep them as permanents, they feed your opponents. And you don't want to be caught dead, cracking your treasures for 5 blue and just like fucking praying like that they don't have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Semifinals was myself, David, and Ryan on he was the player, the Riel player.
Yeah.
And Eric on Tevesh Krom. Eric is Sharky, plays really the Tevesh Krom player. I kept the hand for turn 2 Rhystic. I really just steamrolled from there. It wasn't much of a game. Like
it wasn't much of a game. I mean, it was. I mean, there was an early Najila with an early copy of Najila out by the Krom Tevesh player, which was threatening, but just based off the interaction of 2 control decks that decided to fire everything off and blow everything up. In addition to 2 Rhystic studies sitting at the table with Riel and Mizit here having the card advantage, it just was. I felt like Najila and Krom Tevesh, the tempo was so out, and then we were just targeted by even more removal, and it was kind of like,
yeah, that's backbreaking.
I was sitting there looking at each other, and I was like, it makes sense for one, like you guys to gang up on one of us, sure, but I mean, I was looking at Riel and I was looking at Niv and I was going, Riel, you really shouldn't be ganging up on anybody else in this pod because Niv is out and there's Aristic, there's double draw engines against you. Shauna's gonna just mop the floor with you. Like, pay attention. You need us to keep her in check because force her to kill our Nagilas. Force her to keep killing our warriors. Let
No,
us
bro.
at least punch her.
Trust.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
let us punch her for 20 and then let's watch her play the rest of the game. Like, let us just, do our thing and you're not even a threat. Like, the fact that you have no blockers is us just building warriors to like swing at her.
Yeah.
I think it was very interesting, but I think something which was unfortunate in this tournament is there is an event where a player had accidentally put in or accidentally was found to have multiple cards, duplicate cards in a list. And I think this is just going forward in tournaments is something I'd like to see as we have more and more cEDH tournaments occurring.
Yeah.
I would love to see a deck check. Yeah, I think top
Deck
16
checks
is
are
the
very
timing for a
great.
deck check, and I think
If
that
not top 16, top 4 at least.
at least the top 4. I just think top 16 is really nice because in-person events, a lot of times you have the Swiss, and then you have a break for dinner or lunch or whatever time it is, and then you can hand over your deck to the judges, and this way the judges get to deal with all those things of, Joe, respect for the player. I would never play with all my real cards in a tournament. That's insane.
Nope.
But I think that, that whole top loader situation, the judge would just be like, hey, man, please, I'm going to change sleeves out for you. Like, all these things would just happen, and then no one gets any rules violations because the judge handles and be like, hey, dude, you have a duplicate card. Oh, I'm sorry. You change it out, you fix these things.
Yeah.
If there's marked cards, they change out your sleeves. They change out everything, and they talk to the players, and they make sure that everything's ready to go.
I mean, this goes into the fact. I mean, if you're going to say your tournament's comp REL, which they do say for a lot of these cEDH tournaments coming out, it's going to have comp REL rules. I mean, I've played Modern, Legacy tournaments, Pioneer, whatever. And deck checks are just normal. Like round 1, I'll be in the middle of a game, and the judge is just like, hey, could I see your deck? And I'm like, sure, give him my deck.
Yeah,
Goes through it,
I think we should normalize these like deck checks and
Completely
talking
fine.
with judges, right? They're here to facilitate the game, make sure everything's running cleanly, professionally, smoothly.
Yeah.
Talk to your judges, call slow play on people. It's fine.
I think a lot of people are not
just get comfortable with it.
Comp
Yeah,
REL.
and there is other evidence of like slow play in other games when I would finish early and I was walking around and I was watching and I was like, people really just need to get comfortable calling these judges. And I feel that like stacks that are sitting there taking more of the time or control decks, they need to be really aggressive in just calling a judge.
100%, yeah.
Time is your most valuable resource as a stacks player.
When I play Shorakai, like I'm just trying to. I'm sure Shauna can do this with Niv too, or can verify. Is like you try to play your turn very quickly and pass, because like you want to like unless you have like a big turn, you're just like. This game, I want this game to go as long as possible because that's the best situation for me. Let me make sure my turn is as short as possible so I can, keep up stuff. Or like, get the turns in because the more turns that go around, the higher percentage your deck, if that's the type of deck you're playing, is going to win.
Yeah,
it was me. Yeah. I was intentionally slow playing to get the draw.
What's so exciting is that Command Tower is making super high functioning LGSs that don't often run huge tournaments like this. I mean, Tyton, this is the only like sanctioned event that they run. They don't really they don't run big, like their casual events are probably like 8, 9 people, 12 people, maybe something like this. Like this is something like, this is their one big event a month where the owner like can kind of pivot away from their Warhammer focus and kind of put money into Magic, even though they don't necessarily want to. That's awesome. Because we're getting this very easy accessibility to smaller and up and coming LGSs, we're also seeing the fact that sometimes the judge is playing in the event and sometimes the judge is not getting paid for their time. So it's hard to have a judge that is not getting paid or not being compensated or playing in the event and is otherwise busy trying to win their games to get these deck checks in. But the more that these tournaments become more prevalent and the more that these prizes keep getting more and more expensive, Amp Gaming having their first ever event fucking throwing up a Bayou, that's insane.
That was an insane prize pool there.
Yeah, as prize pool increases, we will continue to see the cEDH community grow bigger and bigger until we can eventually fund a better judge staff and we can host these we can make these deck checks happen and we can normalize that happening. I feel like there's
I think personally, like for me, I think Titan has done a great job with the first two events, and I know that
Yeah,
they ran
no, they're
two in practice before even heading into these things. I think that they have done such a good job of handling so many roadblocks throughout this throughout their tournaments that I'm pretty sure it's time, and I'd be ready to pay $50 for an entrance fee there, and I think they should open it up 64 players, $50 a pop,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
let it rip and increase the prize pool. I would say throw everything into the top four. I don't really think that a top 16 prize. I feel like it's in this era of everybody gets the consolation trophy, and I kind of feel like top 16 isn't good enough. You get top four and you deserve a prize because
Yeah.
our tournaments. It's kind of like you can go on a little bit of a hot streak when you only have maybe 5 rounds of Swiss. But if Swiss was, say 7 or 9 rounds, I'd say, yeah, go ahead. Top 16 gets a
Yeah.
prize. But you
As
get a
it
couple of
currently
wins,
is, yeah.
and that's the thing.
Maybe you
So I
get your
think
entry fee back, but like
I think
that's about as far as
maybe
I
it
would
depends
take
on
it. That's about
yeah.
it.
it's on how many players there are. So like if you go to
True.
like 100 and I mean same thing again going back to 1v1. If you go to a tournament and it's like 1,000 players, if you get top like 50, that's insane. It's like wow, you did really well. You got top 50. So it's just all based on how many players there are. I think if it's like 40-ish players, I mean top 8 probably is like a good prize pool. If there's like 64, it's like top 16, I think would also be good there. Once you get a certain amount of players, I mean, then there's more money to be, thrown around.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
But
did you guys want to get into the Chaos series, the last one?
I was gonna say back to the finals for Shauna.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
this
Oh, the
I'll
finals.
say
Yeah, let's go.
this is very anticlimactic.
Yeah,
because
the finals-
this was a slaughter.
Yeah, the
Just
finals
slaughter.
round, I think lasted like 15 minutes.
Okay.
So it was myself going first, Joseph Stackov on Timnacrom, Blue Farm. Aaron was on Tivesh Crom, and Joseph was on Malcolm Vile. So all good decks, all interactive decks. The pro and con of my deck is that I have to mull to value. I am an Izzet. I have most of my cards just do nothing but counter the table. I can't afford to keep a handful of counters and lands. So Primer says to mull to Dockside Jewel Lotus or some way to find them. Half the deck tutors one, half the deck tutors the other.
Right.
Or the only caveat to that mulligan rule is if I find some very fast value piece, being Mystic Remora, Ristic Study, or Eternal Wheel. So that game I found Eternal Mystic Remora, played Mystic Remora, they played into it, and I just drew the nuts and won on like turn 3. It was,
There you go.
yeah, pretty good.
Nice. Cool.
Sometimes it happens though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about the finals games I've been in, but
yeah.
honestly, a lot of the finals games I've been in are just completely anticlimactic. I've had like really tough games drawn out, all these small decisions the whole day, and the finals game, it's like, oh wow, okay, this hand is just like the easiest thing I've seen all day.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on here?
Set yourself up
Paid
for
actor.
those good
High variant
situations.
format.
Yeah.
Realize that there are about 5 cards that would just win the game on the spot in cEDH,
in, like,
and
any
you
deck,
just fucking mold those 5 cards, mold deep. Don't be afraid to go past 5.
It's
like
true.
you can't keep garbage. cEDH is getting more competitive and crazier to the point where you can't be the one player that doesn't have Ristic Study. Like
right.
That just can't be you. Anyway, moving on.
Where you play vintage games where you play legacy, you don't want to be the guy at the table playing modern.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's look into the Chaos tournament. This is the last series we're talking about. This is the Treasure. The Treasure series, I believe it's called.
Treasure 2. Yep.
Treasure 2.
Their second event. $20 buy-in.
Paid entry, $20. Pretty good prize pool. Or 1,500 prize pool and 128 players. That's a good size. That's pretty
really
cool.
good.
Yeah, I am really hoping that the Treasure series really starts to take off and grow, because they have the free series that they play, but the whole paid thing needs to really increase. I think that Chaos has been doing this, basically they are a registered charity. They really need to be making money so that they can continue to put on these free events for everybody.
Right.
I think that $20 is a little bit cheap considering they're still giving away money to charity. So hopefully, we're telling you guys, we love your events. Please increase your entrance fee. I know some players are gonna be like, no, don't do it. I won't play you if you increase it $5. But you're gonna play it if they increase the
it's
prize
fine.
pool significantly because now more people are paying money and that they can afford nicer things. So
Yeah, I mean, I just spent $200 on a CCU ticket for
exactly. And
Fuck yeah,
for a
love to
thing.
see it.
Yeah,
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 so
same here.
but
Alex, can't wait to see you there. Yes, sir.
oh, you're going
this
to? Nice.
this deck is this tournament. I'm looking at the 16th place list. Paper Tiger by
16th.
Jamaican Dude,
Oh,
which is
Jamaican dude.
a nice
Hey, what's
name.
up, dude?
But th- these these uh these decks, there's wait, how did you? Was this on the same? No, this was on a different weekend. I was thinking it was on the same weekend. I was like, how did you play this two tournaments on one day,
No,
Shauna,
sir. No,
without
sir.
No.
like? I was just like, that is impressive.
This was the weekend
Um,
after Titan.
I think
Mhm.
it looks
Something
like
like
there's
that.
some spicy stuff in here.
There's a
Um,
deluge. I think that's it.
yeah. I'm gonna
Let me
well
see. There
I'm
might be
gonna
some other
kick it
stuff.
off because I think there's a care of magical creatures here, and we got
Yes.
everybody's favorite canine in the list.
Yes.
And I know you're super excited about this, Alex, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
this
hand it off
is.
to
I
you.
love to see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Where is that one? Where's the care of
so a lot of the
canines?
times you see Paco and you kind of think like, okay, there's like extra turn spells. How's this win? There's something with like seasons past looping, right? 13 mana, something like that. Well,
Right.
as it turns out, you can just, when the time is right, just neoform your Paco into Consecrated Sphinx or Niv Mizzet and wheel and just go to town.
Yeah.
And
Our
as it
friend
turns
Ryan
out, you
does
don't
that.
need like these extremely expensive combos. We've seen some players that we interact with online that have been playing lists like this to pretty good success. So it's really nice to see this list topping, right? Just taking
Yeah.
a lot of those principles of trimming the fat on these sort of things, and you still get to play your fun green cards like Return of the Wild Speaker. So I think we can leave
Yeah.
Seasons Pass behind.
I think Seasons Pass is just it's just not a CDH combo. I'm
You
gonna
should
be honest. It's not. It gets hit by everything. It's like a 13 mana line, and it's a sorcery. So like, yeah, sure, it misses Dispel or whatever, but you're much better off just neoforming into Conch Swings and wheeling, and you just win after that. It's you just peer into the abyss essentially, and the combo with it on top of that, like this deck is like a Delver deck. You're essentially using Paco to give you the value early, protect the Paco, and then after that you assemble a combo because that's how you win in CDH. You usually assemble a combo. There's no 20 life. Everyone's at 40, so you gotta win some way. And this list just it's cool. It's got
Yeah.
the winged boots and other stuff to make Paco hit a little harder or be more evasive, so you can sometimes kill the stacks player that's holding you back, or
Yep. Or kill the
just
Nagila player that's
kill the
been beating
Nagila
him in the
player that's
face.
yeah someone's messing with you. Just send the dog at him, and
Yeah. Yeah,
should be good
he
after that.
literally released the hounds on me and just beat the crap out of me in a game, and I was
Oh,
like,
that's
Dog's
sick.
gotta eat.
I'll take 21 damage, I guess. Whoops.
I do
Um,
think something to note though. So you can season pass. Everyone's like you have to play this because it combos with the extra turns that you already play, and it's like, well, the extra turns in this deck are actually insanely good because your Paco's drawing you 4 cards a turn. So the extra turn, every extra turn spell with a Paco out says take an extra turn and draw 4 cards. So that's where the extra value on these like capture of Jin Zhao's, the temporal
but
masteries, time warps come from. And
yeah, I think
I
it's
think they're
just
pretty solid.
really important though not to overload the extra turns. I
No,
think
you don't need to
Yeah.
3 to
overload. You just need a
4
couple.
is
Yeah.
all you need. If you start going into the 7 or 8 mana ones, I feel like they're just way too much and
No,
they're never gonna resolve.
it's not practical to
yeah,
cast those.
it's not. But when you're getting the value from Paco and you have like the Hold On out and you have a lot of like counter magic from the Hold On, once you're set up, these extra turns do like close. This is kind of like the Rog Sai extra turns, but you're doing it a little bit later, and it obviously costs more, but it doesn't kill you. So you're going a little slower, but I think they do give you that needed value. And yeah, obviously Niv Conch Swings plus wheel is just. I think Shauna can attest. If you wheel with Niv out, you usually win the game.
Well, actually,
Sometimes I don't know. Maybe,
I really the amount that I wheel with Niv out is like 0. My opponents never do it because they're terrified, even if they're truly benefiting from like they could have an empty board and they could be like wheeling me to blow up the entire board, and they'd still be like, no, I can't, like, because they can't afford to put their opponents behind that much. And I literally have my only wheel is Time Twister and Valakut Awakening. and Valakut Awakening is a self-will anyway. So it's like,
that one's cool.
yeah, it doesn't happen much. Yeah, it's super sick.
There's two. Okay, another thing to know. Going back on this top 16, there's 2 Nivs. Again, Shauna's one
Yes,
of them
sir.
in the top 16. That's really cool. Is that the same weekend?
Yes, it's the next. No, it's the next weekend.
week.
Oh, next week.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were playing on the same day, just playing both
No.
at the same time.
Grinding.
No chance.
Double queue.
Grinding, absolute tournament grinder out here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have
the other Niv was Time
15th
MTG. I
okay,
ended up
I
being
see.
in his. I was in his same top 16 pod, so it was like
Oh,
a mirror
cool.
match. He was in second. I was in fourth.
Are you guys running like? Oh, I see a fairy mastermind. Are you also on that now? Or?
I am not.
Okay,
So
I see some
we're basically
differences.
on the same list, plus or minus 5 cards.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
he has
kinda
some
like
choices that I'm on Days. He's on Ponder. I'm
Ooh, you
on.
play Days? I love Days.
Yeah, man.
That's like
I'm
one
on
of my
fucking
favorite
Days.
cards.
Oh,
Days
flip on the back.
Enjoyer.
Yeah, I'm on Slip Out the Back to protect Niv, so on and so forth.
That's
Like
cool.
my deck is very less cannon, whereas he's like a little bit more towards like subtle draw cards here and there.
Okay.
So I ended up mulling to like unsubstantiate for Niv and just like my
I see.
own I think I had some other stuff to do with the table, and oh no, I'm sorry. I kept one land. I kept one land Chrome Mox with the blue source and
Okay.
Jeweled Lotus. So
Okay.
Yes.
I had 5 colored sources in hand, and I proceeded to draw no land and or other colored source for the rest of the game. So my turn one was land, Chrome Mox pitching blue card, and Jeweled Lotus, and I was just like holding my breath for that last source, and 14 cards went by. Nothing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
yeah.
miserable.
That is rough.
Rip.
That-
Yep.
it just-
That
it
almost
just happens.
feels like you're playing Kark and
Yeah.
not flipping the right side of the coin.
I mean, took the fucking
Sometimes.
risk. It would have paid off so well. I mean, the entire table was like, as I was policing the board, the entire table was like, as soon as she draws that fucking land, I'm like, yeah, buddy, I'm waiting on it too. Like,
Your
I'm
guess is as
also-
good as mine. When is it
Yeah.
happening?
That is so funny. We see a couple. Okay, I guess standouts from this.
I think I just hinted at the next
Dark Side.
spicy deck.
Which
Yep.
one was the next one?
It's
Rocco?
Kirk's Eye.
Rock Silas.
Oh God. Yeah, let's not look at
Yeah.
that list.
Oh god.
I think we have to.
No,
though.
we have to. But yeah, I will say of note, there's a lot of double copies of things. So there's the 2 Nivs, there's the 2 Nagilas, and then there's the 2 Timnit Kroms, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And big
So-
shout out to Memo and I Love Bacon.
Memo.
I'm not biased in any way towards the Najila list, so you
These
know.
are cool. Yeah, these are solid Nagila lists. I know both these players are very cool. Let's look at
Very
this
good players.
meatball thingy, whatever this is called. Kark Silas, dear lord. Okay. Yeah, it looks like they're straight up playing. Wow. Okay, they're playing Tasha's Hideous Laughter. That is
Yes.
sick. Why doesn't normal Kark Sakashima play that? That is
The Garrett
really cool.
special.
The Garrett
Oh.
special.
Yep. Remember when he was on that shit? That's so funny.
I think I do. I've tried.
Oh
I've
my-
tried to play this card too because I used to play Mill in Modern, and this card was
Yeah.
so sick. But
you
yeah,
really want to give it a shot, but it doesn't work out.
No, I
it's a
think it-
fun card. It's not always the best card.
no. I think honestly though, I think I don't know. There might be something there. There might be something there with Kark
know what?
Sakashima. Like
I'll say this.
I
He
think
top
they could play.
16. He won games.
he did.
So
He won games.
whatever Clark and Silas were doing here, they're putting up the results. So I can't argue with them right
It's
there.
pretty cool. I will say I have played against this deck once before.
Mhm.
It's pretty I think it's as explosive as like a Rog Silas. It's actually more explosive, but you have to flip correctly.
But no,
And when you
it's-
do, like the high roll in this deck is just with the black cards are insane. Like I think I played what did he do? It was some type of like it was a ritual. It was like a dark ritual copied into a demonic tutor, copied and just won the game with like a fierce. And and the fierce was copied, so the fierce was essentially uncountable. So
Okay.
I was just like, okay. And then we did another game, missed a flip, didn't do anything. It's kind of the Kark thing, but you don't have Sakashima, so you're much more volatile. You do have the Harmonic Prodigy and some other stuff.
Yeah,
though.
I feel like
Caverns
if you're
Caverns
playing
are really
Kark,
too.
you just love to gamble, and you're just like, I'm gambling right now. I'm
You're-
putting it
yeah.
all on black
Hey.
and let this roll and
Hey,
go for
you
it.
know what they say? 99% of gamblers quit right before they hit a big.
Why does everybody say that?
It's a joke. Please don't. If you have a gambling addiction, go get help, please. Don't.
Yes, please don't play Magic. It
So,
won't
yeah,
help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't play.
go to
Don't play
Vegas.
Kark. God, so Alex is out here giving great
Take your
advice.
Kark deck to Vegas.
No.
I mean,
this
to
is
be
not
honest,
funny.
though, I'm gonna say something else too. It's a Grixis good stuff deck. You play Grixis and you play good stuff, and your deck can't be that bad. I'm gonna be honest. You
I'm a little surprised no
probably
ad nauseam,
better
just
than
as,
most
like a one of.
decks in the format already.
Mhm.
Yeah, but Tasha's Hideous Laughter, I think that's pretty cool. I could see that
Yeah.
being run in the normal Sakashima
Yeah.
list.
I feel like for everything below the top 8, like Thrasios Dargo, we got a Tivit.
Right.
We
Tibbets,
see the
Dawnwaker,
Najila, we see the Dawnwaker,
the Doggo.
Rogsai, and even then
Rogsai.
going into the top 8, we see Bloodpod here again. We see a Rocco. We see another Najila. We
Okay.
see another Niv, and then we get to the finals, which is
Two
50%
Necrons.
expected and 50% spice. Like,
Oh, that is
Right.
not Bloodpod. Wait, I'm
Is-
looking at the Timnatana. That's not Bloodpod.
is it not on
Is it
Bloodpod?
not Bloodpod?
No, this is Adnos.
Oh.
Oh, it's an Adnaz one.
Oh,
This
that's
is like
cool.
culling ritual your
Four
ass.
color. Okay, wow, this is sick. This is
Okay,
like
so it
four color.
is spicy. Very nice.
4 color spice. I like that. That's actually really cool. This
Oh,
is
with
sick. I like these.
Chain of Smog combo in here and
Yeah.
a Bergie. So it's
Yeah,
like
it just has everything, right? Like
Dot-
Yeah.
Etherflux Reservoir too.
I like
Citadel,
that.
Top.
I like the bait.
I like
it's kind of
the
like the people think they're going to be playing stacks, and then you're just like
Storm.
psych. Yeah, Alex did that with the Thras Vial. Everyone was like, "Oh, Curious Control." Yeah, okay.
Sure.
And just Naus them on
Storm.
turn 2, and they have no idea. They're like, "Oh,
Did
cool.
you really think I'd be playing Mana Drain?
Yeah, hell no. Alex is not playing Mana Drain ever. Let's see here. But yeah, the top 4, we'll
This is
go
some
ahead
cool
and look
stuff.
at this.
Yeah, we
we got
got
2
Blue Farm,
Timbercroms.
Blue
We've
Farm.
already covered these decks, so we're not going to cover those. But we do have one very cool, notable thing, Tyam. And this is notably the Tyam that was popularized, I guess, by the, where I think they're Finch?
the Finnish twins,
Finnish
Pixel
twins?
and Tuca.
Pixel and
Yeah.
Tuna, Pixel and Tuca. I don't know why I didn't say his name correctly. I've played against him multiple times. Tuca's super cool. He's explained this deck to me.
Yeah, Tuca
I-
just took down a tournament also.
Oh, did he? Okay, yeah.
playing
I
Tyam.
think this deck had merit a long time ago, and I've been like looking at it, and I'm like, this deck is sick. It's got so many weird things going on, and essentially you're just using Tyam to. It's the whole engine. It's just the
Yeah.
engine for all these weird cards to work, and it does. It
I
works really well. It works super
I
well.
think-
It's sick.
It's just the nice thing about this is it can play, rule of law effects and win around rule of law effects, as
Instant
well as
speed, by the way, on other
Without
people's
it
turn.
much of a hassle.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the
And
main
I
thing.
think the other thing which people really seem to grasp is like struggle to grasp is kill the Tyam. Like
Yes, you
it's
have to
like
kill the
you
Tyam,
you
yes.
have to really kill the Tyam and make sure you're tempoing the Tyam. So like you're bouncing it to hand, you're removing it. Do not let it sit there and accrue value.
Yeah.
Do not let
We're
value
doomed.
pieces sit there. Like remove
Right.
them, counter them, like interact with them. Do not just let Tyam sit there and do nothing because you're like, Tyam's doing nothing. It's not affecting my game. Tyam will
Right.
affect your game by winning.
Yeah.
So
it's
respect
very.
the deck. Pay
it-
attention.
It definitely
Don't-
is like a
leave it
weird
alone.
control-y strat that plays. It just
It's-
like first it'll start like squeezing you out by like recurring, Ranger Captain over and over, and you're like, okay, well that's
Yeah.
annoying. And then after that, it gets back to its turn, and it's like
Yeah,
does this
just-
weird convoluted combo, and it just
Don't
has so
expect
many
this
of them.
deck-
It's very
Don't
cool.
expect this deck to police the board, like ever. I think the deck.
It has
I mean,
stacks. I mean, it does.
yeah,
but-
it has
but
stacks,
it's
but it
not
has
gonna-
dismember.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't even think this version is running swords. So, don't
yeah,
ask this deck for favors because if it's making a deal with you, it's winning the game. And
Hey, by the
Yeah.
way,
It's
don't
gonna
collect
hurt
the
you.
roof.
No collector roof, correct?
Yeah.
Because there's some combos that require Lion's Eye Diamond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
There's some very
I'm
interesting
assuming,
combos
like,
in here.
I'm
There
assuming-
is a blind
yeah.
obedience though, which I
Okay.
guess is a collector. I think
Yeah.
there might be a Manglehorn. The one-sided effects, which everyone's realizing now,
Are pretty
if
good.
it's not asymmetrical, then it's probably it's if it's affecting you, you
questionable.
better be breaking so much parity on it that
Yeah.
it's worth running.
So
I mean,
I
it's
see White
basically just
Plume
Collector Roof,
Adventurer.
right?
Mhm.
It's basically just Collector Roof, which is the only symmetrical effect that
Or like
is
rule of laws and stuff
wildly
like that. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, like those effects. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. A lot of times we'll king make other people.
Yeah, they're garbage, honestly.
They really, honestly, yeah, they just really suck. Unless you were
Yeah.
like Tyam in that situation, you were completely just breaking Winota. You're just completely breaking it in half,
Yep.
not intended.
Yeah.
I
I see
Yeah.
I see White Plume Adventure. Can you take the
Oh, yeah,
initiative
yeah.
indefinitely and to win the
So
game?
so yeah, that is a new combo that I think they've figured out. There's it's called a trap in the dungeon you go, the Undercity, and essentially
Yeah.
it just deals 5 damage to
5
player.
damage one.
And what you can do is you can sack White Plume to one of your sack outlets and then recur it with time if you have the mana and the counters to keep doing it, and you just trap everyone on the stack and you just kill them. And you also, while you're doing this, are cheating out a creature into play, because when you hit the bottom of the Undercity, which is the initiative, you get to look at the top 10, put in a creature into play, comes in with 3 +1/+1 counters, plus the Tyam counter. So now you have all the counters you need to just reactivate.
And you draw
Tyam.
cards along the way too.
Yes,
right?
and you're drawing cards. So
Yep.
White Plume is a massive upgrade for this deck that a lot of people, I think, were kind of overlooking. And yeah, the initiative is definitely like a sick mechanic that I think is pretty undervalued right now.
Yeah.
Let's
Now,
look at the
I think we really have to hand it to him. Hats off to Chris here for taking down the win.
Oh yeah, Traxa with
Absolutely.
Chris.
Like, fantastic job. I played against him in the previous Treasure Series.
Mhm.
I think he's made some very good edits to his deck, and I think it's definitely have shown because he's taken first. So,
Yeah,
good
it's like-
job, and some spicy includes.
It's cool. This
So,
is the food chain Atraxalis with the Displacer Kitten. I remember watching this. They won with the Displacer Kitten in the finals by just flickering Atraxa over and over until they hit Teferi Displacer Kitten combo. So that was pretty interesting. I'm glad to see a Sans red deck that is doing well, because red is a very prominent color right now. Dockside is just stupid, and Breach is just stupid. So it's hard not to play those cards.
yeah.
And yeah, but this is cool. This is definitely a really sick value engine. A lot of people forget. I think, like, you look at the commander and you're like, 7 mana. This is like ridiculous. But I mean, same with people thought the same thing about Tivit. Like, how are you ever going to
Yeah.
get that out? And it doesn't really matter as long as your commander gets a lot of value for what it does. And so, like, yeah, you're playing a 7 mana commander, but it's drawing you like 6 cards. And
And
it there's
such a disgusting value to being in 4 colors. Like,
Right,
the amount of
yeah.
times, like, he won his first game by just Soul Ring into Smothering Tithe, into Natural Draw Ristic Study, into Natural
Yeah.
Draw Wheel. Like, Smothering Tithe
right,
and Ristic
right.
Study, like, I talked about earlier in this video that there's those 5 cards that win the game on the spot. Smothering Tithe is quickly becoming the 6th. Like, it's ridiculous.
Smothering Tithe was
There's
very
certain
underrated
decks-
for a while, and
yeah.
it's very good. Yeah.
I mean,
There's
I
certain
think
decks where it's excellent.
Yep.
Smothering Ties has always been a powerful card. It just
Yeah.
doesn't fit into every list. And the more things that get printed and the more decks that are able to play it and the more styles that are able to be competitive, Smothering Tithe is going to shine there. And
It does well in these like big fatty mana decks that need the
Yes.
mana, and they have the draw in the command zone. Tivit has the draw in the command zone, needs the mana. Atraxa has the draw in the command zone, needs the mana. So like these decks that need the mana, Smothering Tithe is just amazing in them, because
Yeah.
they always have something to do with the mana, and that was the biggest issue with Smothering Tithe. You
Yeah,
would
I think
play
it's
it
either these.
and just have nothing to do. Yeah.
I think it's like really good in these decks that you want to generate a lot of mana, right? Like Atraxa and Tivit, where you're casting these huge commanders,
Right.
or in some of these like these Mardu decks, right, where you cut on mana sources because you don't need them as much, right? Like Jessica Timna, for instance, makes really good use of Smothering Tithe. So
Right.
it's kind of like polarized to the extremes of like Smothering Tithe is either like your main mana source or it's just like powering out all of your big engines.
Yeah, another green list without collector roof. Which I mean,
We don't need it.
You don't
Don't
need
need
it.
it.
You have food chain and
Cut
all
it
this
from your
other
list.
stuff that can go right. Yeah, Elish Norn is pretty cool in here. I think the new Elish Norn,
Yeah.
doubling all these ETB effects, especially your commanders.
Thanks,
like,
Sriracha.
it's just having some like very fatty value pieces is honestly pretty good right now. When we're in a more mid-range meta, these fatty pieces that just will like grind you through the mid game, I think are pretty solid right now. They might be too slow if we start going toward turbo, but I still think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Overall, I
that's
really
pretty
like
good.
this list. I'm happy that somebody has, been able to get a really solid placing in a tournament with this. I've talked to multiple people that have been trying to build it, just figuring out which is the best angle to go
Yeah,
at this deck from, and it seems like they've really found it with this list. So major props to the pilot.
that is cool. Well,
Good job,
anyways, I
Chris.
think we are wrapping that up. Thank you guys for coming in and recording
thank
this
you
with
for having
us,
us.
going over all these tournaments. We covered 3 tournaments that happened over the last month.
Past like
which
2
is-
weeks, like
Yeah,
Yeah,
month.
this is a
month,
doozy.
yeah.
Yeah,
This is definitely a lot of stuff to cover, but I think it's really cool to cover these grassroots, more LGS stuff, and then also throw in the Chaos series,
sure.
just so you can see how the smaller local metas are reflecting on the bigger scenes. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching and everything, and I'll catch you in the next one.